What's up, guys? So today I want to talk to you guys about two devices. The Sound Devices MixPre, a three-track field recorder, and the Universal Audio Apollo X4, a 4-input audio interface that comes with tons of plugins and tons of features. Let's get right into it. So the MixPre is a 3-track. When I say 3-track, I mean it can take 3 different inputs, 3 different microphones at the same time. So I could have 3 conversations going on at the same time and record it to 3 separate tracks. It can be controlled from a phone. You can pause, check your levels on the phone, maybe 15, 20 feet away. It works with Bluetooth. It has this feature called 32-bit float, which everyone seems to be really excited about, which basically means you can speak loud, or there can be a loud explosion, and normally where audio devices will distort or the signal will start to fall apart, you can actually recover it, because what it does essentially is, through computer technology, is it actually creates space between what's too loud or even too low. So you can bring up the things that are really low, and things that are really loud, you can bring them down to an acceptable level. Without getting too much into that, that's one of the biggest features that this device has. But it can connect to a computer and also function as an audio interface, similar to the Apollo, which is our next item we're going to be talking about in a second. But it's geared to be a field recorder. So if you're moving around, you're doing podcasting, maybe in different locations, or you go to a place where you do your podcast, you may want to take something like this with you, a field recorder. If you're doing a movie, if you're doing commercials at different locations, this device is what you need. I got it because of its build quality. I think it's built like a tank. I got it because of the 32-bit float. I got it because it's a 3-track recorder. I got it because the connections, or what's known as preamps, on this device are extremely, extremely quiet. That quiet. And they're very clean in terms of there's no distortion or any artifacts happening when you plug things into it. Something else note mentioning, it does have a USB connector on the side where you can plug in a thumb drive, and as you're done recording, like when I stopped recording this video, is what I'm using right now to record it, it starts to copy the WAV file straight to that card that's in that thumb drive that's on the side of it. And that's a small little perk to it, but it also has some other features that I don't need to get into right now. If you guys want me to talk more about the MixPre, I can do it in another video. But now the Apollo X4, just to go over some of its differences now, is a desktop, either in your home or in a studio or home studio, whatever the case might be, interface that takes an analog signal, such as a microphone, or if you have an electric guitar or a cello that's being mic'd, you want to connect something that's providing audio to your computer and change that analog signal or that analog sound into a digital sound that you can now edit in a computer software like a DAW, like Logic or Pro Tools. The MixPre does convert analog to digital too, but you're usually doing that out in the field. The Apollo does it on a regular basis sitting on your desk. Aside from that, it comes with some plugins, but you can also buy additional plugins that work specifically with this device. And what they essentially do, what most plugins do, is they usually copy something that we would typically see in the analog world. So like in photography, you buy plugins or filters to emulate films that you've seen maybe on television or whatever the case might be. In the music world, people buy plugins to mimic hardware or pieces of devices such as these that you see me put on the screen here, like a compressor, a mixing board, or an equalizer, so that they can get a similar sound in their studio without investing tens of thousands of dollars into buying these equipment. So this device provides that functionality on a hardware level by using what's known as DSP, or basically chips inside of the Apollo that actually work in tandem with the software or the plugins. And because Universal Audio has such a great reputation, they were once making hardware devices. Now they're making software devices to go along with their hardware devices, or for those who want to use software, can just use software. They have an excellent track record in terms of how they reproduce plugins to mimic the things that were once existent. So for example, let's say you wanted to get that warm sound you heard from a classic tune. You would pick up like a Neve preamp. I think it's a 1073 preamp from Universal Audio. They're not cheap. If you're not buying it during their sale time, you're looking at something like $299. So there is some cost involved having something like the Apollo. But the advantage is that you're able to get a studio within a box. So it's a studio within a box. It's an audio interface that connects to your analog devices. And additionally, it will power your studio monitors. So just like in the photography and film, in the film world, there are these little screens people put on top of their cameras, and they're actually called monitors. Those monitors give us a reference as to what the picture is producing, whether it's too bright, whether it's out of focus, whether it's the colors are accurate, whether we're framing it properly, whether we are in a particular aspect ratio, 16:9, 2:3, 2:5, excuse me. Those monitors give us reference points, or gives us a guide to operate within, so that we don't go too far outside of those lines. Obviously, rules are meant to be broken sometimes, but hey. But the same way that works, you have studio monitors, which work for sound. And what they do is they give you a point of reference, so that when you produce your music, whether it's for a film or whether you're doing dialogue for a film and people listening to it on your phones, AirPods, computers, in someone's car, to Bluetooth, whatever the case might be, the sound doesn't sound completely different each time. Obviously, different speakers give different results, but in terms of the overall levels, the overall volume, the overall tone is not completely different. There'll be slight differences, obviously, because of the speakers, but that's about it. So these monitors create a flat or very uncolored sound that you would hear when working on your sound. And so having them powered by this Apollo is important, so that you can hear before you put your stuff out what it sounds like. And you also don't have to blast your computer speakers, your computer sound to max. You know, like if you're using it, if you were able to connect these to a headphone jack on your computer, you would have to blast your computer's volume to a level where that monitor can now get signal to play back. And so this Apollo, or these audio interfaces, provide power, or they're amps that power those speakers in a sense. Most of those speakers are actually self-powered, but there's an electrical signal that goes through from your interface into the speakers themselves. It's not as strong as electrical current, but there's an electrical flow that happens. And so those interfaces help to provide that. And so this is where the Apollo's, those are basically the Apollo's main features. It has 4 inputs. It works with your analog devices to get it into your computer. It also has tons of plugins. It comes with tons of plugins as well. And you can essentially power the monitors the way they need to be powered, so that you can hear a proper signal. And so the question is, who are these devices for? Is it for the person who's in their home all the time, the field recorder? Can someone use the field recorder in their home? I'm using one right now. Rather than have everything connected to the computer, which I could do, I'm using the MixPre, which will then copy to a thumb drive, which I plug it into the computer. But under normal circumstances, you shouldn't have to do that. So I could just say, let me not use this anymore. Let me just use the Apollo and record everything into Logic. So it's mainly for people who are out and about doing content on a regular. The Apollo are for those who have a great appreciation for audio. Even if you're a filmmaker, even if you're someone who does a lot of visuals, your audio is literally half your picture. The guy who worked on the sound for a few of these movies, I think it's The English Patient, Youth Without Youth, and Jarhead, his name is Walter Murch, well-known sound guy in Hollywood. He mentioned that people don't watch a movie, they listen watch, and how the two senses are interconnected. And so when we understand that, we realize that sound, yes, is half the picture, but sound is essential. Good sound is essential for a good picture. And so sometimes we invest, we sort of put more into the visuals of our productions, and we tend to diminish the audio in our productions. And obviously you can tell when you look at certain films and certain productions, and people are growing, people are learning that this is important, but it's always important to remember that as we go from year to year doing our productions. So guys, I hope this video was helpful. I hope it made some sense, that you can decide, hey, am I someone who needs to tweak my audio on a regular basis? Am I someone who needs to enhance my voiceovers, whatever the case might be? Someone who needs to enhance if I'm doing live production for a concert, or you're doing like a lot of these quasi concerts, where people are doing stuff in their home now because of COVID and because of what's going on in our world today, and they're sending this content out to whether it be a place of business, whether it be a church, whether it be you're producing content for YouTube or for someone else's show, whatever the case might be, and you want to record sound and tweak the sound, maybe not to the level of a sound engineer, but at least you're able to get crystal clear, good levels, a good reference to then give it to a sound engineer or to give it to someone else who's going to enhance it for you, or you're going to put it out yourself. Then you say, hey, I need to get an Apollo. If I'm someone who's constantly out and about and I give my audio to somebody else to edit for me, then you may just need to have a sound field recorder, and that's it. Now, there are other cases, such as in my case, where you would have both, where, okay, you're doing outside work, but you're also spending time in the studio tweaking, adding, maybe you're doing a lot of voice mixing and things like that to enhance your production. You're doing your own personal work and you realize you need to use it for that, then so be it. But it doesn't have to be Apollo X4. It doesn't have to be the MixPre. Zoom, Tascam, Focusrite. There's a lot of companies out there, Antelope. There's a lot of companies out there who provide these similar devices. I just happen to pick these two. So guys, I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them below. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. It will also help me to continue to make content, knowing you guys are looking out for this new content as well. Until next time, guys, this is Sewell here. Peace.